The next Starfield showcase is happening, and likely happening very soon. While we haven't had any news at all in the last 80 something days, Bethesda have actually shown off Starfield more than any of their previous games. Neither Skyrim or Fallout 4 or any other Bethesda Game Studios game has had this much promotion. So over the years, Bethesda have actually confirmed and released and announced a lot for Starfield, whether it be in the Into the Starfield series, the Constellation Questions series, or Todd Howard doing a 3-hour podcast. We've had a lot confirmed for us, but there are still many unanswered questions when it comes to Starfield, and with a showcase/event happening apparently sometime soon, I thought that we would go over 10 things that Bethesda absolutely need to address before Starfield releases. So sit back and relax, and let's get straight into it. I think that Bethesda should really make an official confirmation on whether or not Starfield will feature usable land vehicles. It does make sense that Starfield would have some kind of land vehicles just because of the sheer size of the planets we can explore. We can see in the showcase just how massive each planet is, and we also know that a lot of these planets are basically just empty resource farms. So I personally think that exploring them on foot will feel a bit long and maybe get a little boring after a while. So it makes sense that we would have some kind of land vehicles or even mounts or possibly probes that we can send into planets to gather resources for us. And on top of this, it would be very surprising if a future like Starfields didn't at least feature cars anymore. Like, why would humans stop using them? We would at least have some kind of cars in the future, right? And sure, maybe spaceships kind of replaced cars in the future, but I still think that it makes sense. Now I will say I don't think Starfield will feature land vehicles, only because I believe we would have seen it in the previous showcase if we did have them. That's surely something Bethesda would like to show off, but either way, I really hope that we do get a full confirmation on this in Starfield's next event. I think we also need more information on how travelling around planets will work, and I don't mean on foot. I mean, how will we literally fly from planet to planet? How will fast travelling work? Can we autopilot our ships and walk around them while our ships fly themselves? If we set an autopilot for one side of the galaxy to another, will we have to wait around for in real life hours and in-game years just to get there? Will our ships even have an autopilot mode in the first place? Can we have more than one ship? There are a lot of questions about space travel on our spaceships in Starfield that have gone unanswered, and I really hope that we get some information on all of the stuff I just mentioned in Starfield's next showcase. I really hope that we get some more information on the companion system and what the romancing specifically will be like. Will Starfield use the same like, dislike, love, hate system as Fallout 4? We know that they expanded on the companion system as confirmed by Todd Howard himself, and we know that there will only be 4 romanceable companions in the game, again confirmed by Todd Howard, which kind of worries me, if I'm honest. Fallout 4 had like 10 romance companions, and all of them were very well done and very in-depth, so I have to wonder why we only have 4 for Starfield. I also really hope that we get to meet at least one human companion in the next showcase and see how some of the dialogue will be. I especially would love to see how getting a companion to talk for us will work, which is something Todd confirmed recently in the Constellation Questions series. Well, I say recently, it was a while ago now. I'd really love to see exactly how this works though, and see Todd do a little deep dive into relationships with companions. Very quick one here, but next we have the delay. I think Bethesda need to at least mention the delay and give us a little explanation as to why the delay actually happened. Sure, they probably don't need to tell us, but I'd really like to know. And I know it's probably just bugs and glitches that needed to be fixed, but I'd also like to know if they were adding in content that was originally going to be cut because they didn't have enough time. Like the other changes that they've made, since we know that they fully changed the fuel system in Starfield, likely along with a bunch of other stuff too. We really need some more information on how base building will be implemented into Starfield, whether or not it will be forced. Will we have to build to continue the game's overall main quest and story, or is it side content that we can do only if we choose to? There is a high possibility that it will be a massive part of the game because we may have to set up outposts in order to get materials to get resources, rather than just buying scrap at stores like in Fallout 4 for example. We also still need to know what planets and moons we can actually build our bases on. If we fly into Jemison for example, we know that that planet is the planet of New Atlantis, and the planet is owned by the United Colonies. So if we're not a member of the United Colonies faction, will we even be allowed to build there or not? Outposts have been called our quote home away from home, so since it functions as a home, how come we don't have to pay money to Galbank to build an outpost? Since we know that there is a starter trait that lets us own a house as soon as we begin the game, but we will owe 50,000 credits to Galbank. Why are the outposts any different if we can live there? There's a lot of questions I have about outpost building, so hopefully some will get answered in the up and coming showcase. If you subscribe to me, you may remember a video that I made a while back called Starfield Secret Factions, where we discussed the factions that we don't know much about in Starfield, such as the Ecliptic Mercenaries, the House of Varun, or the Violent Spacers. We barely saw any of these factions in the previous showcase. Actually, we didn't see any besides the Ecliptic Mercenaries. So I'd really love to see a good chunk of the next showcase/event focus around these. I doubt we can, but I'd love to have confirmation on whether or not we can actually join these factions. I'm also extremely curious about the House of Varun. All we know is that they're a crazy religious cult, but I really want to know more. To me anyway, the House of Varun sounds a lot like Starfield's version of the Children of Atom from the Fallout series, and I think it's quite strange that we haven't even seen concept art of these guys, so my curiosity is piqued. Maybe they have something to do with the main quest. I really hope that we get to see more of them along with the other factions that we don't know much about in Starfield's next showcase. Now, one of the biggest things I really want to see get addressed is Starfield's crime system, because we know that crime will play a major part in Starfield. Take the Crimson Fleet for example. Just this faction alone attacks settlements, steals ships, smuggles, murders, and all the rest of it, and all of that is just one faction. We know that Aurora, the drug from Neon, is only legal on Neon, so what will happen if we fly into Aquila City for example, when we have it on us? Do we have to get searched every time we enter a new town or city? How will gods know if we're carrying it? If they don't search us, are there actually ways to get caught with Aurora on us, or is the fact that it's illegal just a law thing? If we steal a ship while we're up in space, what happens to our old ship? Does it just stay docked to the ship we stole, or does it just float around where we left it in space? What about our smaller crimes such as lockpicking or pickpocketing? How will that affect our reputation with non-crime based factions such as Constellation, the United Colonies, or the Freestar Collective? Yet again, there's just a lot of questions here that I would love to see get answered. And I do really think that this one is one that we need to know as soon as possible, which is how will our crew work? We know that we can hire crew members to work on our ships at our outposts, and while that sounds great, how would it work? Do we actually have to pay these crew members out of our own pocket every month? If so, what happens if we don't have enough credits? Can we have big ships and outposts without crew members? Will they function without crew members? Will these crew members have a kind of happiness meter like Settlers did in Fallout 4? Will our crew members have different skills from one another again like Settlers in Fallout 4? If we want somebody to run a store, do they have to have high charisma, or I guess for Starfield social skill, in order to sell better items? I'd really love to see a more in-depth look at this because it's something I'm very curious about. Can we go on spacewalks is a very big question that I've seen literally hundreds of people ask, but on top of that, can we actually leave our ships in space to visit satellites and space stations, since we can see a few in the previous showcase? What are the dangers of leaving our ships? Could we run out of oxygen? Is there a chance that we could detach from our ship by mistake and just sort of float off into the dark abyss of space? All more questions I really hope get answered, and of course you probably knew that this would be number one. If there is anything on this list I think we will 100% be shown at Starfield's next showcase, it's the release date. We absolutely need it, and Bethesda are fully aware. It's the whole reason that they're doing the showcase in the first place. As for when the release date will be, we have just about no idea, but we can cross our fingers and hope that it is sooner rather than later. I definitely think that this showcase will end with the release date being confirmed. I would trade in everything on this list just to have the release date, and I'd be happy. But anyway, with all of that done, that will do it for me today guys. If you enjoyed the video, please do drop it a like, it really helps me out more than you can imagine. And if you are new around here and you're looking for a place to stay up to date on Starfield content, I'm talking news, leaks, rumours, speculation, information, plenty of discussions, and plenty of other Bethesda focused content. I've got you covered, so please do consider subscribing, I'd appreciate it. We're also really hoping to hit 5,000 subscribers sometime soon, so if you do subscribe, I thank you so much for getting us closer to that goal. Anyway, with all of that said and done, I thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I really hope to see you in the next one.